Hi Maya, I'm Tilo. Welcome to the SPRTER podcast.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Thanks for joining us today. I was just telling our audience that I'm really excited about talking to you because of your really unique background. And
hmm
um, just let me start introducing you, and then we're going to delve much deeper into learning a lot more about you, your background, and what really motivates you. So you are a former Syracuse soccer player, lethal in front of the goal, and you've played internationally in Sweden and Cyprus. You got amazing international experiences and transitioned into coaching. So really excited to learn a lot more about that. And for all of our audience, make sure to check out Maya's experience store on the SPRTER app, where she's also offering virtual training sessions. So check that out as well. With that, welcome to the show and walk me through, how did you start to love soccer? Because you have to love it, otherwise you're not as successful as you were.
Yeah, so growing up, my parents put me in sports. It's pretty big to play soccer out here. It's called kinder kickers when you're in kindergarten. So everyone really gets put into it. My mom was coaching my sister's rec team. My brother never really played, but he played baseball, basketball, football. He was always involved in sports as well. And I don't know, I just kind of like really fell in love with it at like 4 or 5 years old when my mom was coaching my sister. I got put into it myself. I would go kick around when she was coaching my sister and all that. So I got exposed to it pretty early, and I just really stuck with it. Sometimes when like you realize you're good at something, you just keep going. And then I was able to keep, I stuck with it. I moved out of the rec program. They were interested in me coming to the travel program. And then, from there, it kind of just like took off on its own.
And obviously Syracuse has a really big brand name, a really strong university. How did you decide to join Syracuse, and what was that recruitment cycle back for you then?
So it was actually pretty interesting for me. I think not because I wasn't late. I have a late birthday, so a lot of the girls on my team have always been a grade younger. So it was me and one other girl who were really in the process of having to do the recruitment when everyone else isn't in that stage yet. So it was a little bit different because the older teams, they were attending the college showcase a little bit earlier than us. So it was a little bit late, but it's sophomore year of high school, which is pretty scary if you think about it. But yeah, I went to visit a couple of schools. Some of them were smaller, some of them were a little bit bigger, some were further. But in the end, I realized that I wanted to be a distance from home where I could feel like I'm not super close, but at the same time, my parents can still come to my games. Like my goal was, I used to want to go to UCLA, like so bad. And then I think like eighth grade, freshman year of high school, I was just like, no, like I want my parents at my games.
Hmm.
So yeah, Syracuse is about like 3.5, 4 hours away. So it was perfect for me.
Okay, that's close enough, but not too close. So you actually at least have the opportunity. It's like, no, I'm moving out. I'm not going to stay at home. That's
I
good.
I always tell people the first year, my freshman year, I personally never did laundry. Like I did not do laundry at all my freshman year. Somehow, like I was all I wore were athletic clothes, so like, I'd give them to like I'd work out in them, put them on my little loop. My athletic guy would wash them, and then any regular clothes, during the season I sent them home with my mom. Like
That's amazing.
it was perfect.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I would assume that didn't last for all 4 years then.
No, no, not at all.
At some point, your mom's probably like, you know what? It's time to grow up. Like, you got to do your own laundry.
I was like, I guess.
That's absolutely fair. And 4 years at Syracuse, right? So when you graduated, when did you let me backtrack. When did you realize that, you know what? I'm good enough to make it to play at the D1 level? Like, was there a specific moment in school, or was it always that, yeah, I'm so good, that's never out of question?
Um, I don't think there was a specific moment. I think it was always one of my goals. And kind of, you set yourself up to something and you just find every type of way to get yourself there. And that was what I felt like I needed to do. So it was like, I'm constantly seeing like I'm doing well in my games. My coach, they're giving me positive feedback, and I'm excelling and I'm growing every year, every day. I'm getting better at what I do. So I was at a point where it's like, what's the next step? And the next step is like challenge yourself to play Division 1 soccer.
Okay, so you set that goal, you achieved it, you made it, awesome. Now, when you when you're when you're in school, university, obviously now name, image, and likeness is completely changing the way that people interact and actually can monetize, make a deal here, and so on. Obviously, you were a starter, you were a strong player, you made it pro afterwards. What would that have meant to you back then? Because it wasn't around, wasn't allowed to make some money
No,
on the side.
I think for me, it's a lot different when it comes to soccer players. Um, Especially like, Syracuse isn't the biggest soccer school. We're a big lacrosse, a big field hockey, big basketball programs. But I think just in general, you see how much effort athletes put in. And, it's nice to see now that like athletes are being given what they deserve, and getting that opportunity to continue to put their name bigger and make something out of it to set themselves up, because they might, right now this might be as far as they go. College might not take them to the professional level no matter how good they are, and that's what kind of like you gotta get what you can while you can.
No, absolutely. Now, for you, it did take you further. So, can you walk me through that process of, and hey, I'm about to graduate in, I don't know, half a year. Here's some offers, or was it, oh, I'm graduated, what's next? And how did it come that you actually moved abroad? And how did you decide on Sweden first or Cyprus
Yeah,
first?
it was Sweden first. um yeah, so it was definitely a little bit stressful. I kind of set myself and was like, that's what I want to do. And, there were some people that were like, here, I can help you go to NWSL. Like, I can help you here. I was like, all right, I'll go to the tryouts, but that's not what I want. Like, it was kind of like my mind was set as like same thing with Division 1. My mind was set that I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to have a different experience. I wanted to do something different and travel the world. Um, so that process is a little bit difficult. I got an agent. I spoke with like friends who like were able to put me in touch with agents who were able to put me in touch with other teams, and I start working with a Swedish agency, and I think I got in contact with them maybe in like April before I graduated, and then in June they came up to me and they were like, "Hey, we've got a team that's interested," and July I was out.
And how was that? As in, was it the first time that you left the country at that point, or had you been traveling before? And how was it just basically packing everything up and moving overseas, moving to Sweden, and be like, well, I don't understand what you're saying, but I'm here to play soccer.
Um, it was definitely a different experience. Like I've traveled outside the country with my family before, but going off on my own, it's a lot different. And going out there to live, and unfortunately for women's soccer, we're not always put in the best situation. The pay isn't always great, so you've got to go out there with the mindset that this is something that you're doing because you love it, and get something out of it that's more than just the sport. So for me, it was, getting out there and being able to experience new things, meet new people. And while I was over there, before coming home. So I went over there the first time I was there, the second half of the season. So I arrived after their mid-season break.
Okay.
So I didn't get a full season with them, but it was a great time to like, get my foot in the door. So it was that I appreciate just being able to experience it. But then at the same time, it's, I was able to take advantage of just being over there and having the chance to travel. I was able to do a little trip at the end, which was nice.
And were you able to do some lots of Europe hopping at that point? Because it's so close, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
what was your
One of
favorite
my,
visit?
oh, um, definitely Paris or London.
Okay.
Yeah, those were my top two. My best friend came over at the end of my season, and then we met in Paris and just did a couple of countries from there. And I fell in love with Paris and London.
That's awesome. And that's the beauty of Europe. That's everything's so close to one another. And
Yeah.
Paris is probably a 19 euro Ryanair flight away from Stockholm or or any of those. Um, Now, do you feel like you were in Sweden for quite a while, right? So
Yeah.
half a season, then you came back. So do you feel like you've experienced the Swedish culture? Do you speak any Swedish by now?
Um, I definitely experienced the culture. One of my best friends, she's Swedish. I've like grateful for that experience because able to bring her into my life and that friendship that's gonna last pretty much a lifetime. But I don't speak Swedish. I got a lot better when I was over there, and I always tell people it's on me because I never like kept it up when I came back home.
Hmm.
But I always feel like if I stuck with it while I was home, I could have been a lot better. But everyone speaks English there. People are trying to speak English and like practice their English. That it's like, okay, I don't need to do it. But but yeah, I got a couple of words here and there. I'll sometimes say them at home, and they're like, "What?" And my friends are like, "My, stop speaking Swedish." I'm like, "Sorry, like it's just a simple thing."
That's nice, and it's a beautiful country. So it's
Yeah.
I hope it's nice. Not just hey, I'm in Sweden now, I can travel to Paris and London, but it's Sweden itself is very pretty. Now you then moved to Cyprus. How did that come, and what was that experience, and how is it different?
Oh, wow. So I went to Cyprus because I ran into some visa problems during my third season in Sweden. Um, so that was a bit of a setback and kind of was a it kind of happened a lot, not a lot, but that was the overall issues that with Sweden for me was with the visas. And just not having a European passport, and just like money is tight, so a lot of times they like to have people that they want to bring people over that have European passports already, and it gets expensive having to pay for Americans. But ran into some issues there, came back home, was gonna go to Italy and play, um, but that was going to be like going to school and also doing Italy. So play and go to school in Italy.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit of a different experience, which I think I would have really much enjoyed. But it would have been more. I wouldn't have been making money. I would have been getting school paid for, which would have been nice, but would have had to pay out a lot, like for housing and all that. So um, Cyprus came about from my agent that I started working with, and I kind of just hopped on it. I looked at pictures, I looked at the country. It's absolutely beautiful country, but it definitely was a different lifestyle than both being here in America and being up in Sweden, and a lot different mentality wise.
What would be the main difference?
Um, I think the approach to women's soccer. I think we're ahead of the game in here in America, ahead of the game over in Sweden. Um, but I think it's still on the rise. It's still trying to come on the rise over in Cyprus. So that was definitely having to see that change and fighting on that side of stuff. Yeah.
I think I understand what you're saying. I'm actually an advisor to UEFA and for
Hmm.
their initiative to grow the women's soccer game across Europe. So one of the big studies that are coming out is like the differences between the European countries and how and their approaches to the women's game and how they're different and how, well, just the mentality within the culture within the country is impacting what can be done and what can't be done from
Hmm.
a pay, from a cultural perspective, and so on. So that makes sense. But I do agree, Cyprus is absolutely stunning. So,
Oh my God.
so
And it's so nice that you can like I saw the whole country. I was there for I got there in October and I left beginning of February. So I ended up leaving like a month early. But in that time frame, I saw literally the whole country,
that's pretty
which
awesome.
is awesome. It's like you go up to the mountains, it's snow. You go down to the beach, like it's literally hot. So there's so many parts of that country that I would 100% recommend people to go visit.
So you've been really successful in combining a passion for travel with your
Yeah.
job of being a professional soccer player, which is amazing. I mean, that's really the dream for so many. And you've recently transitioned into coaching. I saw in December you got your coaching certification as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what is that transition like, and what's that mean to you from a player to coach or being a player coach, or what is your goal there?
Um, my goal, like I love kids from a distance, I should say. I like that I can return them, but I think that I've learned so much in my journey. I've been fortunate to have great coaches growing up. I came under the same program. I stuck from U9 until U17, U18. I was with the same program. But there was a little bit slight of a change up, but under management wise, same program. You know, the coaches all came from the same program, and that's what I stuck with. So it was like U9 to U11. I had two coaches, but under the same team. Our team broke up. They did, but I went to another team that was under the same program, the same coaching staff, and then we transitioned into our own club. So
Mhm.
our that program created their own club and took our team to be within them. So I've had the same head coach since I was 9. And now I get to essentially, I got to coach alongside him after when I came home from Sweden right before I left for Cyprus. And I kind of just like look at like the full circle that it takes. And it's like, you've taught me so much and now you're allowing me to go teach everyone that you taught me, and now in the future they're going to be teaching people that they taught. And it's just like good, nice to see how soccer comes around and like the different ideas that kids have, and just watching kids grow and what they like, the love of soccer at that age. It's different than, once you get to high school, even like middle school, that whole approach to it's like we gotta go. But with the youth, and like helping them develop and understand the game and just grow a love for it. It's nice to see that, like, that light in their face. So that's really kept me driven on sticking with coaching.
That's great. And you just mentioned one coach that you have been, well, experiencing through a lot of your youth career. Who is that coach, and what is that one nugget? Because coaches give us so much knowledge, but there's always that, or there's one moment, or that one nugget of really interesting or good advice that you like. I will always remember that.
Um, I can't say it's like one thing, but knowing him and the way that he holds everybody accountable. I think accountability. So he said a lot of stuff, but like he's always been he's like the president of our club, the head coach. So we've always had another coach right underneath him that was like our trainer at every single game. He came to games and tournaments, not as much to practices, but the accountability he held on every single one of his players kind of is what stuck with me, because as like a businessman, as a coach, as a parent, as a friend, like he holds people accountable, and he holds the situation accountable for what it is. It's, you know, if you say you're going to do something, you've got to do it. If you commit yourself to something, you've got to do it. And he's that type of individual that, you know, I appreciate that, and I've appreciated having that in my life.
That's awesome to hear when you're saying, oh, it's not just that one thing, but it's that continuity in a
Mm-hmm.
specific approach, and an approach that where when someone is really instilling, I guess, a winning mentality. And I think that's what we're always looking for. And some of the best teams in the world, they have that winning mentality. And I think accountability plays a big role. So it's really nice to hear that you experienced that in your career.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do it all, right? Professional soccer player, world traveler. You started a foundation, a coach. Walk me through the foundation. Also focus on kids, as you said. You
Yeah.
love kids, but from a distance. I agree. It's nice when you can give them back when you're like, you know, your kid stinks now. Go take care of this. But talk me through your foundation a little bit. What you're interested, what causes and why.
Yeah. So just like a little backtrack on everything. 2018, came home, you know, was in like a little space of just trying to figure out what was the next step. And, you know, then I got to Cyprus. Cyprus was done, left, came home, went back to Sweden, had a great season there. Came home 2019, super excited. Um, was able to finally be back and like coaching. I started playing again. I kind of got bamboozled in a way. I was like, my boss played for the men's side of my team and was like, hey, like, come play. And I was like, all right. I thought I was going to retire, but I'll go play. And it's like, oh, cool, semi-professional. Great. But I love it. Like, you know, it's like you can never not be back into it. And, you know, started playing there. Great experience, loving that. And then COVID hit. And during all this time, me and my boss have been talking about like, how can we give back? You know, we've gotten so much from the people around us. Like we've had this opportunity to continue playing. We've got an opportunity for me. I've been able to have the opportunity to play professionally. We've had the opportunity of growing up in a good town, in a town that has a lot of resources, that allows us to be in a good space. But not everybody has that. Not everyone has the mentors. Not everyone has the networking. Not everyone has those resources to put themselves in these positive situations and to achieve their dreams. Not everyone has the chance to have like great coaches simply on a financial base, or just don't know. So part of our foundation is to be able to financially help clubs, organizations, individuals, families, companies that support youth athletics. So our company helps them financially, whether they need like uniforms, they need trainers, they need, you know, just help getting to certain to tournaments, you know, because that's a lot of the expenses are finding the top tournament to get to, but they cost money. The flights cost money, the hotels cost money. So that's one part of the foundation, and then the other side of it is helping on the growth and the development, the developmental side of everything for them. So, you know, helping them with like different life skills, like leadership, learning networking, learning how to interview someone, how to be interviewed. So all these growth skills that take you into real life, but we try to bring it back into that athletic side so that it kind of keeps them drawn in. They understand the importance of it, of why should you know how to be interviewed, post-game interviews, right? You need to have that media training. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that have horrible media training, right? Or just have never had media training. And you see it in high school kids where they're in front of the camera being asked questions and they're like, yeah, the other team sucked. So it's like,
Well, at least they're authentic.
exactly. But like being able to teach these kids like how to interview, you know, but that also takes you into real life of when you need to go do a college interview, when you want to go do a job interview, you know, being professional about stuff and approaching these things in a professional mannerism to set yourself up, because sports isn't always going to be with you. For God forbid, you get injured. It's a life-ending injury. Your health can come into play. Sometimes you lose the love for it, and then you're kind of like stuck, because a lot of us athletes, we get stuck in our identity as just being an athlete, as opposed to creating a couple of different identities that you know that if this were to go away, you still have 1, 2, and 3, or you still have this other part of you. So we're really like trying to get kids to open up their minds and everything there. So it's called leading every athlete's dreams. So yeah,
We got to make sure to link out and connect there as well.
definitely.
This is awesome to hear not the backstory as well. And obviously, COVID has taken a big toll on the industry, but it's really nice to hear how you are taking action, because a lot of people are like, well, this sucks, moving on. and that's nice to hear that you're supporting those less fortunate. And that's really what we're not all about, but mostly about at the SPRTER app is we like people that are performing really well on the pitch, but we also really like people that have a cause and have a specific cause and support the sport itself. So it's certainly one of our key focuses on the app, beyond helping those monetize and brand, but I think the charitable aspect is certainly a really big part of the SPRTER app. And so it's really nice to hear that you are so involved with it, and we got to make sure to link out. But how do you connect the foundation now with coaching through OTA, our training academy?
Mm-hmm.
How do you connect those two? Is there a connection? How do you connect those?
So technically they are two separate entities. They're separate.
Okay.
They're separate.
Okay. All right. No, and that's
the only similarity is that it's my boss and I that started the foundation. So,
okay.
but you can't really like dabble too much into our company. But when we do soccer stuff, our trainers come to do the free soccer clinics. So if in that sense they kind of overlap, but for the most part we try to keep them separate.
That makes sense from a business perspective, but the synergy is clearly there.
Yeah.
It's focused on the youth, and it's focused on supporting the growth of the game, which is awesome to see. Now, 2022, hopefully COVID at some point will be done. And what is on the horizon for you? What are your big goals?
My big goals, soccer wise, personal wise, coaching.
All of them.
All of them. Well, coaching wise, definitely we're looking to start up a U21 WPSL team that will be underneath our for the club I play for. We're trying to start up a U21 WPSL team. So that's definitely a goal. I want to see that succeed. I want to see us get a full roster there, and girls that are coming home from college, seniors, juniors in high school, bring them all together and make a successful WPSL team. So that's coaching wise. Personally, I have this goal for 30 countries by the time I turn 30. I've got 2.5 years to get 10 countries.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to get a couple of those countries and travel and get some traveling done this year, because COVID definitely has slowed stuff down. And then soccer wise, it's always a journey there. We've got season coming up, and preseason I guess starts next month, and then WPSL starts up in May. So preparing with the team and getting to a point where we could be successful this year.
It sounds like a busy year, but
yes,
also really, really exciting goals.
I'm super excited for this year.
That's, and hopefully, as I said, hopefully COVID will leave us alone at some point, 2022. So
I really
so
hope
we can, so we can train and play and be somewhat normal again. But those are really awesome goals. I'm intrigued by the list. So 10 countries in 2.5 years, I think is doable. It's ambitious, but doable.
It's very ambitious, but
Obviously on this, particularly on this side of the world, I'd say if you're in Europe, it's maybe a little bit easier. You do
yeah.
Luxembourg, France, Belgium, and Germany in one day.
My goal is to I've already been to Italy, but my friend plays over in Italy, so when I'm supposed to go see her this year, and hopefully I'll get over to like Switzerland and maybe I'll do like Germany while I'm over there as well.
Fantastic. I think that those are really good countries to tick off the list.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully all of those play out, literally, and hopefully the coaching goes well. Keep us in a loop on the charity, how potentially we can support down the road as well. And then obviously you have your sporter profile on the app. So for any of our listeners, make sure to connect with Maya if you're looking for some virtual experiences, and see if there's some additional experiences that you're interested in offering down the road. So there's lots of opportunity to engage with you for our listeners as well. And yeah, we're excited to support along the way, and really thank you for joining the podcast. It's really nice to learn more about your transition, your journey along the different countries, and combining soccer and travel. Seems like the sport can really take you around the world.
It can, and I'm so fortunate. And I always tell people if you want to get over there, like there's always a team. There's always someone. You know, if you're working hard, you've got some skills that take the opportunity. There's, you know, you're only young once.
I love that. That's a really good closing statement. Thanks a lot for your time. Um, Everyone, at Maya Pits, at Pity on the Pits.
Yeah, pity on the pitch.
Pity on the Pity on the Pitch. I'll link it out in our captions in the bio. It's all in there. So make sure to follow her along on all of the socials. Connect with her through the Sport app, and follow along for this season. Thanks for joining the Sport podcast, Maya.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
You as well. Bye.